The FBI has raided the office, home, and even hotel room of President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Investigators acting on a referral by special counsel Robert Mueller seized records related to Cohen's payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Meanwhile, the Department of Justice has put a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in charge now of releasing documents that should have already been turned over to two committees. Those documents detail the FBI's 2016 investigation of the Hillary Clinton email scandal. President Trump and Republican lawmakers have accused the Department of Justice of slow-walking the request. It's got to be something beyond slow-walking. It's been 5 months. Joining us tonight is Victoria Tensing, a former Reagan Justice Department official, former chief counsel of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and Joe diGenova, the former U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. They are the founding partners of the diGenova and Tensing. There, I did it. I kicked both of your names. You know you're on the Lou Dobbs Tonight Show. I apologize to you both. Great to have you here.
Good to be here.
I'm going to rehearse, I promise you, from the moment we step off until next we speak, if ever you have the grace to show up here again. It's good to have you here. First, let's start with this raid, Victoria, on personal attorney of the president.
Yes. Mueller and his gang have weaponized the criminal justice system. These no-knock raids that were done on his personal lawyer's house and offices, those are kinds of tactics reserved for dope dealers and for terrorists. I know. I used to be a narcotics prosecutor. This is not the regular order for subpoenaing, and that's what should have happened, for getting records from a lawyer. You should issue a subpoena and say what document you want, and then the attorney hands them over, which, as I understand it, Cohen has been doing all along.
Yeah, and cooperating, as you point out. Joe, your thoughts on just the apparent, as Victoria says, as with Paul Manafort, a pre-dawn raid with a cooperating witness. Yeah. What is this about Mueller that is so thuggish?
I think that the raid today on Mr. Cohen's office was an act of bad faith by the special prosecutor. Even though he was not responsible for the raid, he caused it to occur through the Southern District of New York. I think these are what are called in terrorem tactics. They're using the grand jury in a terroristic way in order to frighten people, to intimidate people, and to try and influence the conduct of the President of the United States. I think what Mr. Mueller has done under the guidance of Mr. Rosenstein and with the assistance of FBI Director Wray is disgraceful. I think it is an embarrassment to the Department of Justice, and the fact that they're not embarrassed tells you something about these three people, Mueller, Wray, and Rosenstein. Mm-hmm. It is clear to me now that Mueller, Wray, and Rosenstein are anti-Trumpers. This is not a good faith federal investigation. It is designed to embarrass the president, and I believe that they have determined that they want to take him down. I think that this is one of the most disgraceful events in American law enforcement in the history of our country, and should be an embarrassment to all three of them, but apparently is not.
I think that there is no evidence of collusion with the Russians. Right. And so what Mueller and his people are trying to do is to goad the president into firing them so that they can just say, oh, my, we would have brought it all out, but we were fired. I disagree with our dear friend Tom Fitton. I do not think the president ought to be goaded into doing this. He should stay cool.
Well, now you've given me pause because I'm so furious at what we're witnessing. I guess I'm being reflexive and reactive, reactionary, because it is, to me, it is such an incendiary moment that I cannot imagine where is the Bar Association, as I asked earlier in this broadcast, where is the legal profession? Why aren't judges, the Supreme Court, someone with integrity and established standing in your profession, standing up here standing up as one, whether it's the ABA, whether it's the Supreme Court, I don't know, and say, we're not going to tolerate this kind of conduct.
Well, Lou, most of the major institutions in this country are dominated by liberals, including, believe it or not, the American Bar Association, right, which I can assure you is anti-Trump to its core. as far as the judiciary, they can't do anything until they get involved in a case. And I think that your instincts to be offended by this and to be outraged are very, very good. They're to be encouraged. And I think what the American people should do is express themselves, that they do not like this, that they don't accept it, and they think that treating the president and his family and his lawyers like common criminals is a disgraceful manifestation of non-professional conduct by the Department of Justice and the FBI. I have to tell you, Lou, I'm so furious at Rod Rosenstein and Christopher Wray, who have disappeared from the plan of action. I have now concluded beyond any doubt that they are both anti-Trumpers and that they are actively engaged in trying to take down the President of the United States.
And Lou, let me just tell you, like, one of the people that Mueller brought onto his team, Andy Weissman,
right,
he is the one that in the Enron investigation brought down the whole company of Arthur Andersen on false charges, which the Supreme Court overturned 9-0. And
right,
by the way, he was also the direct supervisor of my client, Doug Campbell, in Uranium One, and was one of his lawyers who threatened my client with prosecution if he talked about the case.
There's no doubt that the Weissman thuggery came into play today. This is right out of Weissman's playbook. He is the thug, and Bob Mueller ought to be ashamed of himself for having people like this on his staff.